In this episode of our Sovol SV08 MAX improvement series, I'll showcase Daemon Klipper Essentials, the single software update that will turn this large format printer with a potential into the beast you hoped it could be. Tune in for this showcase no matter which Klipper-based printer you have from Sovol or other brands, because in DKEU, the U stands for Unified. We are not only showing the possibilities, but will also guide you through the installation of this macro system. This is gerGO, and you are watching gerGO Print 3D. On this channel, my little nephew Levi and I take you along on our adventures with 3D printers and other amazing DIY tools, sharing our projects, first impressions, and fun experiences. To make our content as inclusive as possible, every video also includes curated, translation-ready subtitles, chapter markers, and voiceovers in over 20 languages. Now, before we dive into the top 10 features, I want to share a significant upcoming milestone for our channel. If you look down, you will see we are approaching the magic 10,000 subscriber mark, and we are planning to celebrate that with a special chocolate printing project. We are teaming up with Igor from MyTechFun once again to upgrade his chocolate printer to the next level. We'll be replacing the screw extrusion with a piston system we designed and swapping key plastic parts with custom machined metal. And that's where our sponsor, PCBWay's affordable CNC services, come into the picture. They are making this upgrade possible and are already machining these parts for us. All I had to do was send them the step files for the models I designed and prototyped in plastic. Their engineers even gave us crucial advice, not just on technical details like how to specify the threaded holes for the nozzle, but also on selecting the best materials. And that's the kind of special touch that shows they are not just a manufacturer, they are a partner in the project, helping you think things through and ensuring the final result is safe and effective. And of course, while we are using their CNC services for this project, they are an industry leader for custom PCBs and offer a huge range of 3D printing services as well. We will tell you a lot more about this project in a dedicated video, but for now, a big thank you to the team at PCBWay for supporting us. Top 10 plus 10 features. All right, with that exciting project on its way, let's get back to Daemon Klipper Essentials and the Sovol SV08 MAX, starting with our top 10 favorite features, presented roughly in the chronological order you'd encounter them during a print. 1. Filament load. The way it should have always worked right out of the box. This feature alone is worth the install. See, Levi just pushes the end of the filament into the feeder, no buttons pressed, and it automatically loads it all the way to the tool head. Then we get a prompt to ask if we want to do a clean load. And this brings us to my second favorite feature, clean load. The filament is purged into a perfectly shaped pellet. Let's not dance around it. If this isn't a filament poop, nothing is. And then it's masterfully kicked into a dedicated removable purge tray, but not before cleaning the nozzle using the original nozzle wiper and scrubber, but all in a much smarter and safer way. You might not have realized it, but even during this procedure, the homing is improved with gentler, reduced power motor control that smartly keeps track of locked motors to avoid unnecessary homing and even prevents homing when the nozzle is too close to the bed. Fourth on my list is a whole new screen added to our HDMI Klipper displays with dedicated buttons to prepare the printer for high temperature prints. This includes a true, fully customizable filament-dependent preprint procedure, number 5 on my list, that will automatically adjust the bed heating, Z offset, and other parameters according to the filament material you specify in Orca Slicer. All automatic and all customizable. And speaking of bed heating, the smart customizable heat soaking should have been higher on my top 10 list, but there are so many amazing features here. Heat soaking makes sure your bed's thermal expansion has stopped changing its shape before mashing and printing. All this, of course, in a filament type aware manner, letting you opt out if you don't have the time, and even completing quicker if your bed was already warmed up after a previous print. My list of favorites continues with the rest of the preprint procedure, including smart nozzle temperature control to prevent oozing, adaptive mashing, and even adaptive and fully customizable purge lines, all for an even more perfect first layer. 8. The ability to disable jam and clog detection. These are 2 more jams that in themselves are worth the effort to install Damon Klipper Essentials. It's admirable to see the Max's attempts to catch jams and clogs, but they drove me nuts when they kept misfiring with false detections in certain situations during long prints, constantly pausing and needing babysitting. If not a lifesaver, it is certainly a sanity saver and print saver to be able to politely decline the service of these sensors in the middle of a print. And when the print finishes, my next favorite is the unload command. I mean, it is a true unload. Yes, it will correctly get the end of the filament out of the extruder, but it doesn't stop there. It will prompt you if you want to feed all the way out of the long filament path. All we need now is a mechanism to wind all the unloaded filament back onto the spool, but it's not that hard to do it manually. My final top favorite, it has to be the ZSN macro, which lets you move the tool head without going through the full homing sequence. Something we've been able to do on our old printers, and Klipper seemed to have taken that from us. It's so nice to have this ability back. And the list could go on. I could have easily listed 10 more, like the smarter, quieter extruder and bed fan controls, the fact that PLR, power loss recovery, now works with the HDMI Klipper Screen as well, the improved printer light control, our full control over tool head park locations for pause and cancel separately, or how it implements Orca Slicer's adaptive pressure advance for each filament, as well as Orca Slicer's multi-plate, multi-surface options. Not to mention the optional ADI-NG support, adaptive QGL, Nevermore fan control, mains power relay control, and there is even more. Although this is mostly a software solution, it doesn't go much beyond the fully user-facing configuration files and macros. Before we get to the installation, let's cover the hardware components you might want, all available from 3D Print Damon's Printables account for free. The removable magnetic purge bucket is the only one that's really required if you want to take advantage of that amazing poop-forming clean load routine. There is a buffer tube guide I printed, which helps with the beginning of the filament route. And you can print the improved tube holder too, which holds the PTFE tube in a better angle as it enters the build area. I didn't really see a need for this one. We've already talked about the necessary tool head board cooling if you plan to print high temp filaments in the heated enclosure. Watch our video on the eye heaters and the tool head cover in this previous episode of the SV08 MAX series. And finally, not a 3D print, but a recommended adjustment is the raised nozzle scrubber, which I talk about in part 1. If you do it now, you can easily configure DKEU to accommodate for the new height. We are halfway into the video. before the actual install instructions, I hope I managed to get you excited about the software. Please show that excitement by hitting the like button, and how about subscribing for more? Thank you if you have. No training wheels. Now, someone suggested I should publish a complete eMMC image with the installed system. One that you could just download and copy to get a system that's set up exactly like my printer. Sounds convenient, but this approach has too many pitfalls. I talked it through with Rory, the person behind 3D Print Demon, and he objected to this idea. This macro collection fundamentally changes the behavior of your printer, so it is essential for you to understand all of the changes and settings. Sorry, there is no such thing as a free lunch, and there is no hassle-free access to DKEU either. If we produced an eMMC image today, you would miss all the future additions and improvements he keeps working on. Besides, as you see, it's not that hard to accomplish at all. All the help. So don't worry, we've got your back. We will give you all the help you need to install all of these on your Sovol SV08 MAX specifically, but also on any other Klipper printer. 3D Print Demon himself shows you the core of the setup procedure in a 15-minute video. In addition, I'm going to give you some notes on the stumbling points I experienced during the setup of my Macs and how I overcame them. He doesn't go into the specific customizations for the Macs. I will take you through my user settings line by line, which is based on Rory's own settings and my personal adjustments to them. So you are getting a working setup ready for your Macs while fully understanding every change. 3D Print Demon, aka Rory, is very active and approachable in Sovol's Facebook groups, and even has a dedicated Discord server set up, so in case of any problems, questions or suggestions, you can reach him. Step 1, back up your system. At a minimum, download the contents of your config directory and all subdirectories if you have them. You can do it from the Mainsail interface directly or using WinSCP. I show you WinSCP in action in this video, adding 4 custom preheat buttons to the maker-based Sovol Klipper screens. For a complete backup, the best way is to flip the printer on its side, remove the eMMC card, and follow my video on saving a full disk image that you can restore to get back to your known good state anytime during or after installation using an MKS eMMC adapter. Or you can actually make the backup remotely, but I strongly recommend the physical method since it is more reliable and since you will need to access the eMMC card physically in case you want to restore. It is better to be familiar with the process from the get-go. That said, here are the steps to extract and save the image remotely. Plug a USB drive into one of the ports, log in via SSH using the user pass Sovol. Find the device names for your eMMC and USB drive using the command lsblk. Stop Klipper surfaces using the commands on the screen so they don't alter eMMC content during the backup. Then carry out the command on the screen, replacing the device names if they were different on your system. It will take some time. At the end, your thumb drive will have a 2 GB file for the 8 GB eMMC module. You can simply power cycle the printer to restart Klipper. Step 2, then you can follow 3D Print Demon's 15-minute video. A little hint, it will take longer than 15 minutes, but no more than a few hours, even if using ChatGPT or Gemini to research the background of each step, like I did, to make sure I understand everything. Right off the bat, my first mistake was starting with his Sovol SV08 MAX specific settings in his guide. The correct order is general setup and then the specialized stuff. Now that was before he posted the video, so you surely won't make this mistake. He starts by fetching the installer line from his documentation on GitHub. Then he doesn't show, but this is how you SSH into the printer using your printer's IP address, of course, and the password Sovol. And you can see how the command ran on my machine. For the SV08 MAX, I ran the daemon prerequisites installer and not the one for the regular SV08. And it asks a few questions. Here are my answers. Heat soak file is number 1. And put N for no to NeoPixel unless you have it. To verify the results, you can see the heat soak CFG and all the other files it created here in the Mainsail interface. On to config adjustments. Then he instructs you to make various changes to printer CFG and other files. Just follow his lead. This is the final state of my printer CFG after carrying out all his proposed changes. Note how we were instructed to comment out some of the stock include lines on the top. These are the ones left for me. And unless you have them, you don't need the eye dryer and eye heater include lines at the bottom. Watch my video on these invariable devices and their installation. And here is something I recommend. I moved all DKEU related changes and additions into one group near the top of printer CFG, just below the include lines. So if he told me to change a section, I actually cut and pasted that section up here and made the change here, often keeping the original block commented out next to it for reference. Of course, we have our config files backed up, but it might still be easier to compare the changes this way. If I decided to deviate from his suggested values, I always edit his original value in a comment together with my name to keep track of changes. He does a good job of explaining all the various settings in his printer CFG in his video, as well as the include sections on the top. But in case of any doubt, you can compare with mine for reference. Don't forget to also add the SV08 MAX specific changes to your printer CFG. Those are also included in my group of settings for DKEU. In a similar manner, here is how my macro CFG looks after moving and uncommenting the client variable macro in there and changing some values and adding daemon macros. Again, Rory shows these changes in detail, but you can see my specific values for the recommended custom toolhead locations for the Max. And don't forget to make the changes in moonraker.conf too. Adding this section will help you keep DKEU up to date directly from the web interface. He just zooms by this step at around 10:56 in his video, so make sure to do this. There are also some user-facing preparations. Easy to miss part appears around 13 minutes in his video, where he shows how to get this beautifully organized macro layout in the web interface with just a few clicks. Note, we are downloading that backup file to our computer running the web browser and uploading it from here using the button he shows in his video. Now for the slicer settings, let me show you his recommended changes in my Orca Slicer setup as well. Make sure under Other you have the exclude objects options enabled. They should be. If I remember correctly, I did not need to add the object processing and exclude object sections in the config files as they were already enabled by Sovol in the Max. When you're setting your filament presets, be sure to always specify the correct filament type, because that's how the macros will be able to select the correct settings. And most of the changes are under your machine settings. The machine start G code should look like this. The machine end G code is just the daemon end command. Then the before layer change G code should look like this. The after layer change G code should contain this log Z command, very important for PLR to work correctly. A Sovol MAX staple is the power loss recovery feature. We'll enable it in daemon user settings later. Time-lapse take frame for taking time lapses, filament change park for parking the tool head when you have a filament change, and change extrusion roll G-code is this daemon adaptive PA type. Pause G-code should just have pause, and this last one can stay blank. If you are using an HDMI Klipper Screen instead of the stock touchscreen of the Max, be sure to add the menu structure from his documentation. Just don't be like me and copy the new stuff at the top of the file klipperscreen.conf, above the line that says do not edit below this line. Oops, trust me, we make mistakes so you don't have to. Notice I also added these two buttons on the very top related to the filament buffer, specific to the Max. Step 3, more SV08 MAX specific settings. He basically skims over the various user settings in the file daemon user settings.cfg in the daemon user files folder. Now expect to spend a long time with these settings to understand and decide on each one. To help you a little, we will now do a side-by-side comparison with the default values, so I can show you the values I used on my Max. Okay, so we have the default settings on the left and my SV08 MAX settings on the right. And the first section where we enable the options is for Orca Slicer. We put true for the slicer and the two other Orca Slicer related settings. Then the next is the adaptive meshing that we enable. Then the most stable place for the eddy probe. Coordinates on the Max should be 250 and 170. And important, enable Sovol PLR, power loss recovery. You will also need to add the PLR command in your G-code. Going down to the build plate settings, I'm using the stock PEI plate, and I found a negative 0.07 Z offset adjustment resulted in the best first layers. Going down, the next section is about heat soaking. The cold heat soaking time I set to 10 minutes, and the shorter heat soaking time is 5 minutes if the routine finds the print bed to be already heated after a previous print, for example. But we have this whole new variable heat soak option enabled. It's going to probe the print bed at 1 minute intervals and will stop the heat soaking when the print bed stops changing its shape, an ingenious feature in Daemon Klipper Essentials. And with this, we arrive to the filament dependent part of the settings, where for each filament type you can make specialized settings. I adjusted the PLA flow rate to just 98% and the pressure advance value also to this 0.018 value. I haven't yet touched the other ones. I'm testing these high temp filaments using the default settings. For pad G, I turned off the anti-squish. It did not result in good first layer, so I turned that default option off. Further down, we arrive here for the unassigned profiles. So if the macro cannot detect what type of filament you are using, it's going to go with these settings. So I set that nozzle temperature to 150. Since the SV08 MAX is using a clicky sensor for homing, we can shorten that clear wait time to just half a second. Further down in the load-unload section, I changed the unload length to a bit longer to make sure that the end of the filament really leaves the extruder before the full unload starts. The stow locations on the Max should be set to 20 and 480. Since the SV08 is an MCU host mainboard, this option should be set to true. This section here is where you enable the special features for your printer. I have a chamber temperature sensor, actually two if you watch my iHeater video. If you don't have a chamber heater installed, you will probably want to keep this on false, but your SV08 MAX came with printer lights, nozzle cleaner, and if you have printed, enable this purge bucket option as well. And that's basically it. In the 15-minute video, Rory doesn't mention this other settings file, cleaner variables, which is very important and has very special settings for your specific printer. So I will show you my SV08 MAX settings here as well, side by side, again with the defaults. So to enable this specialized cleaning system, put through here and set your cleaning location for the SV08 MAX. Exit cleaning location is -8, Y is 190. The park after exit cleaning, -8, 190, and 7 millimeters for Z. Now we are using the random cleaning mode, so these settings are not set up correctly. Don't look at these. And here under the random cleaning passes, this variable start Z value is important because this is the location of the brush. As long as it's 0 or higher, you have a chance of not scratching up your build plate if something goes wrong. And Rory promised to add a setting for the scrubber location as well. It's currently hard-coded in the system for the SV08 MAX, but you will have a setting for it somewhere here as well. And it's very important to set this silicone brush location for the cleaning, which is -10, -5.5, and 200 and 234 Y. So those are basically the coordinates of the silicone brush on the left side of the build plate. For purge temperatures, 160 and 180. Legacy purge location is set to -10, -8, and 150, keeping the legacy Z-Park height at 10 millimeters. By the way, all of these are Rory's fine-tuning for the Max. So I just took his values, his settings, basically over. Here you can see the palette forming settings. These values are also for that. And then we have the kick moves, which move this little palette into the purge bucket. So you can see those settings here. The other important user settings file is the one called Daemon Custom Expansion CFG. It should look like this for DKEU to work correctly on the SV08 MAX. You will need to have these commands in the corresponding macros. Pay special attention to the line offset force overlay in the pre-level macro. And enable both sections at the top of the file with these two true settings. Finally, there are a few more SV08 MAX specific settings listed in his documentation. First, downloading the 3 special config Python files into your Clippy extras directory. Then, an updated version of the buffer stepper CFG in your config directory, overwriting Sovol's original. Then edit this newly acquired buffer stepper CFG and add the pins PC12 and PC11 to make jam and clog detection optional on the Max, giving you the ability to turn them on or off on the fly. My experience, if you do all of these, your Max will gain all the extra powers I showed you in the beginning of this video and more. To tell the truth, I kept postponing this update for weeks, even after I heard about it from Rory himself. But eventually I got to it, and I'm so glad I did. Those couple of hours are absolutely worth the effort. A big thank you to Rory, aka 3D Print Demon, for all the love and care he poured into this software improvement collection. He gives it away for free, but please be sure to support his endeavors and show your love by taking the time to understand all the amazing functionality so it can really serve you well and turn your SV08 MAX or other Klipper printer into the magic device they can be. And there is more on the way. In the next installment of our SV08 MAX series, we will finally utilize this enclosure, the high-temp filament dryer and chamber heaters, and these empowering macros to show you the large high-temp prints it is capable of making. If you are more interested in the regular SV08, we will soon have something for you too, changing the stock probe to an eddy current sensor in an upcoming video. Please keep using our affiliate links in the description for your purchases. Your support enables us to make these videos. We also had to make some important upgrades to our Bamboo Lab H2S, specifically to the voltage transformer that makes this 110 volt USA unit work on the European 220 volt network. This is another one of those 3D printing design projects that I think will be entertaining and informative, even if you never need to build this exact device. And how did we even end up with this bamboo in the first place? It's not your everyday story, and we tell you all about it with Igor from MyTechFun in this recent video. With the help of AliExpress, we are in the process of building out a beginner's electronic workbench to raise the bar for our reviews, mods, and troubleshooting. Links to all the devices we carefully picked are in the description below. Expect to see these in action in our future videos. I hope you are subscribed so you don't miss anything. Until then, there is much to watch on our channel. If you haven't yet, be sure to check out all the previous parts of this SV08 MAX upgrade series in this playlist. And if you are up for something new, check out the most complete laser device we have ever used in this video. Now don't forget to go print 3D, because that's what gerGO Print 3D is all about. Thank you for watching.